In the realm of logic, there exists a fallacy known as the argument from incredulity. This occurs when someone dismisses a claim not based on evidence, but simply because they find it difficult to believe. Essentially, if something seems too outlandish to them, they assume it must not be true. Interestingly, even in the fantastical world of Skyrim, we see characters exhibiting this type of reasoning. In today's video, we'll explore how this logical fallacy plays out through the interactions of a few key figures and what these moments can teach us about skepticism and belief.
Need a ride? Ever been to Markarth? Some say it was built by the dwarves. I don't believe a word of it, though.
Bjorlund's quick dismissal of the claim that Markarth was built by the dwarves is a classic example of the argument from incredulity. He doesn't believe it simply because it's hard for him to imagine it. But Bjorlund's disbelief doesn't make the claim any less valid. There's substantial evidence supporting the idea that Markarth is indeed a dwarven city. The architecture, the ancient dwarven ruins scattered throughout the city, and the functioning dwarven automatons all serve as strong proof. Plus, many experts and witnesses in Skyrim support this claim. Rather than dismissing the idea outright, Bjorlund could have approached it with a bit more nuance. For example, he could have acknowledged the evidence even if he personally had doubts. They say Markarth was built by the dwarves. Can't say I know for sure, but all the ruins around, it's tough to deny the stories. By saying this, Bjorlund would express his skepticism, but he wouldn't fall into the trap of rejecting the claim purely based on his own inability to believe it. It's a far more reasonable way to engage with the idea.
Was summoned when he was still Talos of Atmora.
Rungar, calm yourself. What does any of this Nord nonsense have to do with our friend here? Capable as he may be, I don't see any signs of him being this, dragonborn.
Provintus's dismissal of the Dragonborn is a classic example of argument from incredulity. As an Imperial, he's unfamiliar with the deep traditions of the Nords, making it hard for him to believe in something like the Dragonborn. His ignorance of Nordic culture leads him to reject the claim, not because of evidence, but because he can't fathom it. His lack of understanding doesn't change the reality. Dragons are attacking, and the player's powers are undeniable. Provintus's imperial upbringing blinds him to the truth that others can clearly see. A more open-minded approach would have been, I'm not familiar with these Nordic prophecies, but we should look at the facts and address the dragon threat.
The Greybeards seem to think you're the Dragonborn. I hope they're right. I hope so, but you'll forgive me if I don't assume that something's true just because the Greybeards say so. I just handed you the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. Does that make me Dragonborn too?
In this case, Delphine's response is based on skepticism rather than outright dismissal. She's not saying that she cannot believe you are the Dragonborn, but rather that she won't blindly accept the Greybeard's assertion without further verification. This is not an argument from incredulity, because she's open to the possibility that you are the Dragonborn, but wants additional proof or context to support the claim. She's expressing doubt, but not rejecting the possibility altogether, based on her own inability to believe it. Someone might interpret this as an argument from incredulity because it seems like Delphine is questioning the validity of the Dragonborn claim just because the Greybeard said so. If someone were to take this at face value, they might think she's dismissing the idea of the Dragonborn as unlikely or absurd because it seems too fantastical. It could sound as though she's rejecting the Greybeard's authority simply because she personally finds it hard to believe without seeing something more concrete. If Delphine's response were truly an argument from incredulity, it might sound something like this. The Greybeards think that you're the Dragonborn? I don't know about that. I can't believe it. How can anyone really claim to be the Dragonborn just because some old monk said so? I just handed you the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. Does that make me Dragonborn too? In this case, Delphine would be rejecting the possibility of you being the Dragonborn simply because she personally finds the idea of you being the Dragonborn too implausible to accept. Instead of remaining open to the evidence, she would be dismissing the claim purely because it seems unbelievable to her. Through these examples from Skyrim, we've seen how skepticism can take different forms. Bjorlum and Proventus demonstrate the argument from incredulity, while dismissing claims simply because they seem too far-fetched to believe. In contrast, Delphine's response reflects a more measured skepticism, one that seeks further evidence before making a judgment. These moments in the game highlight the importance of balancing skepticism with openness to new ideas. While it's natural to question extraordinary claims, it's equally important to engage with the evidence before drawing conclusions. In both the world of Skyrim and our own, this approach fosters a more thoughtful and informed perspective.